What's This, a traditionally PC-only channel, daring once in a while to dip its virtual toes into the perceived digital diarrhea that is the iOS marketplace. God forbid there actually be a game that's worth talking about on iOS, of all places. Setting aside the fact that PC players also have the equivalent in terms of questionable quality game platforms like GameJolt, let's talk about one mobile game that somehow manages to break away from the confines of being a knockoff or a sellout, and manages to, for the most part, stand on its own as an entertaining, engaging, while also not being entirely corrupt and manipulative in regards to its monetary practices. Beach Buggy Racing 2, otherwise referred to as BB Racing 2, is an iOS and Android-built game, also conveniently enough planned to release on PC, consoles, and smart TVs later this year. I know I'm still trying to wrap my head around smart TVs being a platform for gaming, but okay. So for those of you who don't set much stock in mobile releases, you'll soon be able to judge this game on its own merits when it releases on the more traditional dedicated gaming platforms soon. Beach Buggy Racing 2 is a multiplayer-driven kart driving game in the same vein as, and inspired by, the retro combative kart racing games of the 90s and early 2000s, such as Mario Kart, Crash Team Racing, Star Wars Pod Racer, etc. Certain similarities may lead to direct comparisons to Mario Kart, but while the two do admittedly share many conceptual and design choices, there are clear distinctions to be made. In fact, for those of you looking for the more ideal Mario Kart clone, I would direct your attention towards the Angry Birds Go mobile game, which would more accurately fit that description. Right, so let's talk about the surface level stuff first, before diving into the more intricate mechanics. Beach Buggy Racing 2, like its predecessor, takes on a distinctly colorful and stylistic cartoony visual tone, fitting in well with the accompanying absurd and silly mechanics and upbeat, energetic soundtrack. The game features a fairly large assortment of playable racetracks compared to other games on the market, with the developers continuing to produce and release new tracks on a fairly consistent, seemingly monthly basis. When starting up the game for the first time, the game will walk you through all the core mechanics and overall menu interfaces, familiarizing you with each one and its purpose. So you shouldn't be left wandering around the menus, groping for some idea as to what you should be doing or where you should look to find what you need. None of that here. In an era where most developers on PC and mobile alike dump these convoluted menus with multi-layered sub-menu options onto the heads of players, some meager amount of credit should be attributed towards those developers who take the time and effort to simplify these elements for the benefit of the player. After the short series of tutorials reach their inevitable conclusion, the game opens up and allows you to jump straight in. At any given time when trying to jump onto a new online match, you'll be presented with one of two random playable tracks. After playing on one of these, it will be replaced with one of the other maps in the rotation, so in theory you should not be presented with the same track twice. That said, I cannot prove that this never happens, but I've yet to see this occur during the admittedly many hours I've spent playing this game thus far. Each level maintains its own unique visual presence, with no two levels looking or feeling exactly like the others. Different environments, different hazardous objects, varying times of day, all of it in turn allows the game to feel as polished and each level as distinct as they do. Like most kart racing games of its type, players will have access to a number of colorful and mechanically unorthodox power-ups, each of which can be used strategically in different circumstances. However, unlike games like Mario Kart, where you're just presented with a predetermined number of power-ups, here in BB Racing 2, players can select their own loadout of specific power-ups, each of which represented on screen in this inventory state as static cards, all of which can be upgraded to mildly increase their effectiveness in the field. This upgrade process comes into play via the in-game loot box system. Just by logging in and clicking on one of the loot boxes visible on the main menu, the player will have the option to either wait a few hours for the box to unlock, or alternatively watch a free sponsored ad, or as a third option, use premium in-game currency, which can be earned or bought, to open the loot box immediately. There could be an argument that this is pay to win, and I don't deny that, but I personally never felt pressured to buy any loot boxes. In fact, I would argue I felt much less pressured here than when I do playing games like Overwatch, a game that largely seems to have been viewed positively for its implementation of cosmetic loot boxes. While ultimately I would prefer not having to see any loot boxes in any game, whether the game is paid or free, loot boxes for the time being have established themselves firmly in gaming culture, so the best thing we as consumers can do is attempt to regulate to what extent we allow ourselves to be taken advantage of by the game publishers who force these recurring monetization practices down our collective throats. While I do take some umbrage with the concept of having predetermined and lengthy unlock timers for loot boxes in any game, mobile or not, I certainly find them no more or less despicable than some of the same garbage we get from the mainstream AAA PC and console industries, like with Activision and their constant Call of Duty map pack DLC malarkey. In the end, it's all a case of pick your poison, and from my point of view, there are far more sinister and underhanded poisons to pick from than what's currently being offered here in Beach Buggy Racing 2. For better or worse, the game is exactly what it markets itself as. A fun racing game that, on the surface level, will entertain children and adults alike, while also having a surprising amount of continually updated content, all the while supporting itself off the existence of loot boxes as its primary income. I found the game to be quite an enjoyable means of passing the time as I lay in bed, waiting for sleep to presumably fall upon me at some point. But I'll say this much. If this game plans on making a eventual emergence on PC and consoles, my best advice for it is to adapt to those platforms. What may work on mobile may not work on PC and consoles. I'd recommend abandoning the free-to-play loot box-driven model and instead just releasing the game as a regular paid title, ideally within the price point of $10 to $20. Optionally, I would say if they wanted to do a Fortnite-styled battle pass, I wouldn't have too much of a problem with that. Personally, if it's a choice between loot boxes and battle passes, I'll take battle passes over loot boxes. But again, it's a case of pick your poison. Also, although I presume this goes without saying, on PC I would expect the inclusion of a fully functioning options menu, in addition to a graphical remaster, to at least bring this game up to normal PC resolution and optimization standards. Beach Buggy Racing 2 is currently available on iOS and Android platforms, and is expected to release on more traditional gaming platforms such as PC and consoles during the later half of this year. Hope you've enjoyed this newest episode of What is the Point Of? If you did, please do hit that like button, and for those of you who are new to the channel, consider subscribing and opting into getting notifications so you can be among the first to know when new videos go live. I will be back to mainly reviewing PC games shortly, however for the time being I'm taking a small break from doing PC game reviews as I wait for my new PC to arrive within the coming week or so. Let me know what you think of this video down in the comment section down below. I always enjoy hearing different perspectives, even if they contrast my own. I usually do respond to comments in a timely manner, so feel free to reach out to me down below. Alternatively, you can find me on Twitter at WarriorDanYT. In the meantime, I'll see you all next week with a new review video out for you then. This is WarriorDan signing out. Stay awesome, everybody, and peace out.